Enid was born in January 1938 in the mining village of Ushermore in County Durham. The only child of Arthur Cann and Ida Lewis, Enid's earliest memories were of the Second World War, which tragically deprived her of her father, an electrical engineer at the Ushermore colliery, when she was only 4 years old. Enid always spoke of him as "my daddy." When the war was over, Ida married Bob Pickard, who Enid eventually learned to call Dad. Bob's infectious laugh always brought a ray of sunshine to what was often a difficult life for a working-class family in post-war north-east England. Enid would look forward to the summer holidays when the family would travel south on the train to visit her cousins in the sunnier climates of Devon and Sussex. Enid also went on holiday with family friends, and on one occasion was taken on a camping trip to North Devon at the time of the Lynmouth flood, which claimed the lives of 35 people. Enid was on the official list of missing persons for several days, so it was a great relief to Ida and Bob when she returned unharmed and oblivious to the trauma that her parents had gone through. There was no secondary school in Ushermore, so Enid sat the 11+ exam and enrolled at Durham Girls' Grammar School. This required her to travel on the train to the city every day, which she found quite daunting, so she was grateful when a contact at Durham Baptist Church managed to find Ida and Bob a house in the city, about half a mile from the school. Enid was nicknamed Titch at the school, as she was so tiny and was sometimes teased by the other girls, but she excelled academically and showed a particular gift for biology. Unfortunately, the school was unable to offer the subject she wanted at A-level, so Enid transferred to the grammar school at Houghton-le-Spring, which this time involved a daily bus journey. However, Enid was inspired by her teacher, who encouraged her to apply to study zoology and botany at Durham University. Following her graduation, Enid took a postgraduate teacher training course, and it was on a field trip to the Lake District that she met David Rippon. The pair hit it off instantly, and 1 year later they were married at Durham City Baptist Church. David and Enid both embarked on teaching careers. Enid taught first at A.J. Dawson Grammar School in Wingate. At her interview for the biology teaching position, she was asked by one old man on the panel, "Can you play the piano, Hinny?" Fortunately, she could, so they offered her the job straight away. However, she found secondary school teaching a challenge, and after the birth of Nigel, she switched to primary education, working at the infant school in the Belmont district, where she and David had bought their first house. Enid and David shared a love of dancing and enrolled in a series of dance classes, learning a variety of ballroom and Latin styles. The jive was a real favourite, and they often cleared the floor at church dances, dancing to Bill Haley, Elvis Presley, and Enid's favourite, Cliff Richard. After Alison came along, David and Enid made the life-changing decision to emigrate to Australia as 10-pound Poms, taking Ida and Bob with them to start a new life in Sydney, eventually settling in the suburb of Campsie, where Enid again taught at the local infant school. Her teaching continued at home, teaching Nigel and Alison to read long before they started school, and encouraging them with music from an early age. Both Bob's and Nigel's health suffered in the Australian climate, and after 3 years down under, the family moved back to England. Because of the Suez Crisis in 1969, the journey home took 5 weeks, stopping in South Africa, Senegal, Portugal and the Netherlands. Highlights included having Christmas in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and Enid winning the onboard hula dancing competition. Arriving back in the UK, the family settled in Sussex, which held such strong memories from Enid's childhood summers. Enid continued teaching at Chidham and North Mundham Junior Schools, and later at Rumbleswick Infants. Keen to pass on her love of music to the children, she started teaching after-school music clubs for singing, guitar and recorder. With their own children both in school, Enid and David became heavily involved in the youth work at Chichester Baptist Church, leading the Boys and Girls Brigades, hosting regular Young People's Fellowship meetings, and organising the annual church youth camps. Enid was a big part of the team that made such a difference to the lives of so many young people in the 1970s and 80s. In the late 1980s, the pressures of teaching began to affect Enid's health, and she decided to take early retirement. This coincided with Nigel and Alison finishing university, moving out of home and going their separate ways. So David and Enid were looking for new challenges in the next phase of their own lives. A move to the Anglican Church at St Pancras offered them a new perspective and a new family of friends, as they became home group hosts. Enid, as always, provided the perfect venue, complete with fresh flowers, drinks, cakes and occasionally one of her famous pavlovas. David and Enid also became grandparents, as first Tim, then Emily and Lucy, and later Imi came into their lives. Enid cherished her time with her grandchildren, encouraging them first with their reading and later with music. Although not appearing confident, Enid could be quite determined when she set her mind to it. At 18, she travelled with a friend hitchhiking around Scotland. After retirement, she would often take herself off on bike rides in the local countryside. Despite having a terrible sense of direction, she would happily cycle to the Witterings, for example, having no idea of how to get there or how to get back. David's retirement offered them more time to travel, going on walking holidays in the UK and then moving further afield, with trips to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, Greece, Alaska, Scandinavia and the Baltic states. Enid had an inquisitive mind and was always keen to take on new challenges, such as in Ecuador, where she could be seen swinging on lianas through the rainforest and shooting darts from a blowpipe. David and Enid's family continued to expand with the arrival of great-grandchildren, and Enid again enjoyed time with Poppy, Florrie and most recently Lila May. As they grew older, David and Enid found the house in Lincoln Green increasingly difficult to maintain. Eventually, they decided to sell up and move to Barton-on-Sea, finding an apartment just a few yards from Alison and Colin. They were now able to enjoy beautiful sunsets and sea views across the bay from their first-floor balcony. Although suffering with both her mental and physical health, Enid still enjoyed drives out in the New Forest, the beach, and occasional walks along the cliff top, especially if an ice cream was to be had at the end. Throughout Enid's life, she brought smiles, giggles, and joy to both friends and family, at work, at home, and in the church. She will be sorely missed by all of us.